we discuss the FTA between India and the European Union.
Hello, I'm Thomas Porteous and you're watching another episode of Xplained. Today we discuss the historic free trade agreement signed between India and the European Union. India and the EU announced the conclusion and finalisation of negotiations for a free trade agreement. The agreement is expected to be signed later this year and may come into force from early of 2027. The talks were concluded after 18 years and the negotiations started in 2007. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced that India and the EU had reached the FTA, saying it accounts for 25% of global GDP and 1/3 of global trade. The EU-India FTA conclusion marks the end of almost a 2-decade-old process after talks were first launched in 2007, with bilateral trade already crossing $136 billion. It is reported that this would be one of the biggest bilateral deals in the world. But what is expected out of this agreement? Under the agreement, the EU will cut tariffs to zero on a range of Indian products, including marine, leather, chemicals, plastic, rubber, textiles, apparel, base metals, and gems, phasing these cuts over 7 years while excluding certain sectors like automobiles, steel, and agriculture. India, in return, will reduce tariffs on EU goods to zero on 93% of bilateral trade value over the next 10 years, opening up new opportunities for European exporters. The deal also provides uncapped mobility for Indian students, ensuring easier access to education in Europe, and includes flexibility on carbon taxes, allowing India to receive similar benefits if the EU offers them to other nations. Additionally, India is pushing for higher quotas for steel exports to the EU under this partnership. Overall, the agreement opens nearly 97% of EU tariff lines and more than 92% of India's, strengthening economic ties and creating new opportunities for businesses, workers and students in both regions. This landmark deal is expected to drive growth, promote sustainable development and reinforce India-EU cooperation for years to come. The leaders also signed some key memorandums of understanding. India and the European Union exchanged several agreements and MOUs reflecting the wide-ranging and multifaceted cooperation as a part of the India-EU strategic cooperation. The India-EU Security and Defence Partnership document was signed by European Commission Vice President Kaja Kallas and Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. The political declaration on conclusion of negotiations on the India-EU FTA was signed by Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal and European Union Trade Commissioner Markos Šefčovič. The signing of the document on a comprehensive framework for cooperation on mobility was signed by Šefčovič and Jaishankar. Other documents exchanged include cooperation on disaster risk management, agreement on the constitution of a green hydrogen task force, and 2 documents between the Reserve Bank of India and the European Securities and Markets Authority. Following the signing of the documents, the leaders also gave a press statement. Prime Minister Narendra Modi highlighted the signing of India's largest and most ambitious free trade agreement with the European Union, bringing together 27 countries and strengthening long-standing people-to-people ties. He stated that the deal is expected to open new opportunities for Indian students, workers and professionals, while making it easier for farmers to access European markets. Modi noted that cooperation extends beyond trade, covering defence, security, science, technology and women empowerment. He emphasized that the partnership is designed to promote global stability spread from the Indo-Pacific to the Caribbean and marks a rare historic moment that can shape the global order for years to come. European Council President Costa highlighted the historic India-EU free trade agreement signed today, calling it ambitious and a milestone in long-standing relations. He stated that the partnership aims to strengthen trade, security and people-to-people ties, building a resilient global order at a time of global uncertainty. Costa added that both sides are focusing on clean energy, climate action and global connectivity while working to counter security threats in the Indo-Pacific. He also emphasized protecting national sovereignty, promoting peace and sharing responsibility for upholding the UN Charter. Costa hailed India-EU cooperation, stating that it sets a strong example of the countries working together for stability, prosperity and long-term global leadership. Meanwhile, the European President Ursula von der Leyen praised India for its growth and strength, calling the India-EU agreement a historic moment. She added that the deal is seen as a landmark partnership between the two major economies, combining strength to boost manufacturing, create jobs and promote global stability. Von der Leyen added that both sides plan to deepen cooperation in security, defence and counter-terrorism, including joint naval exercises and cybersecurity initiatives. Giving more details about the agreement, she added it focuses on science, technology and AI and will facilitate student and professional mobility between India and the EU, opening new opportunities and benefits. Let's in fact listen in to some comments by the European leadership.
Also because we conclude today our trade negotiations. We relaunched at the latest meeting that I had the pleasure to host in May 2021 in my previous capacity. Our summit sends a clear message to the world. At a time when the global order is being fundamentally reshaped, the European Union and India stand together as a strategic and reliable partners. Today, we are taking our partnership to the next level. As the two largest democracies in the world, we are working hand in hand to deliver concrete benefits for our citizens and to shape a resilient global order that underpins peace and stability, economic growth and sustainability.
This trade will integrate further our supply chain and strengthen our joint manufacturing power. It will cut up to 4 billion euros in annual tariffs for exporters of all sizes. And it will create good jobs for millions of workers here in India and in Europe. At the same time, this agreement will build on the natural complementarity of our economies. It brings together Indian skills, services and scale with Europe's technology, capital and innovation. It will create levels of growth that neither side can achieve alone. And by combining these strengths, we reduce strategic dependencies at a time when trade is increasingly weaponized.
Well, that's all for this episode of Explained. Stay tuned as we bring you more in-depth insights and stories that matter.